The city is bustling with life, the rush of cars and pedestrians filling the streets. But beneath this surface there's a palpable tension, a weight in the air that speaks to the unspoken struggles of those who have long been marginalized. Protest. Signs are a common sight now, their messages bold and urgent, hanging from windows and car doors. The sounds of marching feet, chanting for justice, resonate every weekend as people demand change. But even as the fight for equality grows louder, the sense of unease lingers, as if the streets themselves are holding their breath. The gap between the haves and the have-nots grows wider each day, and for many, especially for black people, opportunities are a distant dream, blocked by invisible but ever-present barriers. In the midst of this simmering unrest stands Layla Patterson. At 32, she's built a career in law enforcement, a career she never imagined for herself. Raised by a single mother in a tough neighborhood, Layla has known hardship firsthand. But her mother instilled in her a sense of justice, a fire that burned within her even as the world tried to extinguish it. Layla pursued law school with one goal in mind: to dismantle the systems that had oppressed her, her family, and her community for generations. She joined the FBI, not just to serve, but to change things from within, to be a force that worked to heal the very wounds that had been inflicted by a broken system. But no matter how much she's accomplished, Layla faces constant reminders that the color of her skin and her gender are still seen as obstacles, not assets. After a long day, Layla heads home, exhausted but resolved. The quiet hum of the city fills the background as she drives, lost in thought about the injustices she's witnessed. Her mind is still racing when the flashing red and blue lights appear in her rearview mirror. Layla slows her car to a stop, already knowing what this is: another encounter, another instance where she will be treated as less than. Officer Daniel Thompson, known for his racial profiling and harsh tactics, approaches the car. His face is unreadable as he taps on the window. But Layla knows she can feel it, that underlying tension, the thinly veiled disdain he carries. She rolls down the window, her eyes steady. Thompson asks for her ID, his voice condescending, as if he expects something to be wrong. Layla hands it to him without hesitation, her hand not shaking despite the familiar sting of unfair treatment. As he inspects it, he pauses, looking it over with a critical eye that tells her this isn't about checking for validity. This is about checking her place in the world. Is this some sort of fake ID? You sure this is you? He asks, his voice dripping with skepticism. Layla's heart skips a beat, but she steadies herself. She knows what's coming, how this situation could spiral out of control if she lets it. She responds calmly, her voice unwavering. That's my real ID, officer. You can run it if you'd like. The officer's smirk remains, clearly dismissing her response. The mocking tone in his voice deepens, as if to reinforce the stereotype he holds about black women, about their supposed lack of legitimacy. Yeah, I'll run it, but I'm not so sure you're who you say you are. Layla's patience wears thin, but she refuses to give him what he wants: a reaction. Her hand moves deliberately to the glove compartment, not out of fear, but with purpose. She knows what she has. She knows that in this moment she has something he didn't expect. Slowly, she opens the compartment and pulls out her FBI badge. It catches the light, a symbol of her identity, her power, and her authority. She holds it up, unwavering, and lets the officer see it clearly. The shift in the air is immediate. Officer Thompson, who had been so confident moments ago, freezes. His eyes widen, his mouth going slack as the reality of what he's just done settles in. Layla remains calm, her posture resolute, her voice firm but not loud. You questioned. My ID, she says, her words cutting through the silence. Now let's talk about your assumptions. For a moment there is nothing but quiet. The officer stammers, trying to regain his footing, his authority slipping away. His gaze flickers between her badge and her eyes, unable to mask the realization of his mistake. He tries to recover, mumbling something about how he didn't mean to offend her. But the words fall flat. He knows, as she does, that this moment has irrevocably shifted the power dynamic between them. Layla watches unblinking as the officer's arrogance crumbles. In the silence, she feels a wave of catharsis. This is not just about him. This is about every single person who has been marginalized, who has been told they do not belong, who has been made to feel small in a world that seeks to diminish them. It is a victory, but also a moment of defiance, a moment that will resonate far beyond this exchange. As she turns to walk away, Layla's mind is clear. This is more than just about her identity being recognized. It's about asserting her dignity, her worth, and her refusal to be defined by the prejudices of others. She knows the fight isn't over. She knows there will be more moments like this. But in this instant, she has reclaimed her power, and with it the hope that one day the world will see her for who she truly is, not as a stereotype, but as a force to be reckoned with. The officer eyes Layla's ID, his gaze narrowing as he flips it over in his hand, scrutinizing the details as though looking for something to prove that she doesn't belong. His voice grows louder, mocking, as he leans in, still holding the card between his fingers. "You sure this is you?" he asks, the question dripping with disbelief. "Because I don't know. Something about this just doesn't sit right." Layla's pulse quickens, but she keeps her expression composed, the years of dealing with people like him having taught her the importance of staying calm. But the sting of his implication, his insinuation that someone like her, a black woman, couldn't possibly be who she says she is, cuts deeper than the words themselves. The weight of systemic bias bears down on her, but she won't let him see the hurt. She knows exactly where this is headed, but she also knows how this moment will end. Her voice is steady, calm, despite the bubbling frustration inside her. "That's my real ID, officer. You can run it if you'd like." He sneers at her, a smugness in his voice that betrays his assumption. "Is it fake? Seems too clean, too perfect for someone like you." The words sting, and the officer's tone turns from questioning to dismissive. His posture shifts, body language oozing superiority, as he subtly implies that her identity is somehow inferior, less legitimate. Layla feels her blood boiling, but she keeps her composure. He's trying to make her small, to put her in her place. But Layla won't allow it. The internal struggle churns inside her. She wants to say something, to expose his ignorance, to demand he treat her with the respect she deserves. But deep down, she knows that reacting emotionally could escalate this further. The last thing she needs is to give him a reason to see her as the angry black woman he expects. No, this isn't the time for fury. This moment, no matter how unfair, is her battleground. Layla swallows hard, trying to steady her nerves. She's fought this fight too many times before, every microaggression adding weight to her shoulders. She wonders, just for a second, how much longer she can carry this burden. How much longer she can walk through life being told, time and time again, that her success, her identity, isn't legitimate. But she knows this moment isn't just about her. It's about the system, the deep-rooted institutionalized prejudice that demands people like her prove their worth every day. Her mind races through her options. She knows how this can go. She knows how it often ends. But today is different. Today she will take control because she is done being silenced, done being invisible. She is done being the other in a world that refuses to acknowledge her worth. With a deep breath, she locks eyes with the officer, standing tall despite the weight of her frustration. "I'd like to speak with your supervisor," she says, her voice unwavering. The officer's smirk remains, a mixture of disbelief and amusement. He starts to reach for his radio, prepared to dismiss her again, but Layla doesn't waver. She's playing her final card, and she knows its weight. She pulls her bag closer, her fingers brushing the edges of something that will change everything. Layla opens her bag slowly, deliberately, her hands steady. She pulls out her FBI badge, holding it up with calm precision. The sunlight catches the badge, making it gleam as she holds it out for him to see. The officer freezes, the smugness falters, the superiority in his posture dissipating like smoke. The shift in power is immediate, undeniable. For the first time, the officer's confidence cracks. His face pales and the words that spill from his mouth are no longer mocking. They're defensive, apologetic, stammering. I didn't mean to..." I wasn't... He pauses, fumbling for an excuse, but there is none. The reality of his mistake settles in, and the facade of authority he'd tried to impose begins to crumble. Layla doesn't flinch, her gaze steady. She watches him, every second of his discomfort a small victory. This is her moment, and in it she isn't just reclaiming her dignity, she is challenging the very system that seeks to diminish her. She is showing him that he can't erase her, can't reduce her to a stereotype, can't make her invisible. "Why did you question my ID, officer?" she asks again, her tone not angry but powerful. "Because you didn't think I could be who I say I am? Because I'm black? Because I'm a woman?" The officer stammers. His world, his assumptions, have just been turned upside down. He stands there disarmed as the weight of his actions settles over him. For a brief moment, the power he once held over her is gone. Layla lets the silence hang in the air, knowing that her simple act of revealing her badge has upended everything for him. The man who assumed she was just another black woman to dismiss now stands before her, fully aware of his blunder. This is not just a personal victory, it's a statement. It's a moment of defiance, a confrontation of the biases that run deep in the very fabric of the world around her. As the officer apologizes, stumbling over his words, Layla stands unshaken. She has won this moment, not with aggression but with her truth. She has proven that she will not be dismissed, that she will not shrink into the margins of society's expectations. She has reclaimed her identity, and in doing so, has turned the tables, forcing the officer to face his own prejudice head-on. And as Layla turns to walk away, her heart beats steady, her resolve stronger than ever. This was just one moment, but it is a moment that will resonate far beyond the interaction itself. It is a victory that will reverberate in every corner of the community, a powerful reminder that no one, no matter the color of their skin, should ever be made to feel less than they are. The officer stares at her ID, the tension thickening with each passing second as he flips it over again, inspecting the document as though searching for a mistake. His words drip with doubt. "This doesn't seem right. Are you sure this is you? I mean, you don't look like you should be." He pauses, his words hanging in the air, and then continues with a sneer. "A woman like you working with the FBI? Come on." Layla's pulse quickens, but her face remains an impenetrable mask of composure. It isn't the first time someone has doubted her based on the color of her skin, or the assumption that she couldn't possibly be who she says she is. But it stings nonetheless. She stands her ground, the weight of history pressing on her shoulders. She's been through this before. The disbelief, the dismissiveness, it's all too familiar. But today, in this moment, she refuses to let it define her. Layla's voice is steady and her words hit like a quiet storm. "That's my real ID, officer. You can run it if you'd like." The officer snorts, his smirk widening. He doesn't reach for his radio. Instead, he leans closer, making it obvious that his real question isn't about her ID. It's about her being here, about her being someone worthy of respect. "You sure this isn't some kind of fake ID?" he asks with a patronizing grin. "Maybe you've been in trouble with the law before." The suggestion feels like a slap across her face. She's not just a woman being questioned about an ID. She's being reduced to a stereotype, something smaller, less than a threat because of the color of her skin. She feels the old familiar wave of anger rise inside her, but she swallows it down. Anger would only give him more ammunition. She breathes, her heart steady. The storm inside her isn't for him. It's for every moment like this. Every time the system, through actions both subtle and overt, tries to remind her she doesn't belong. But Layla isn't someone who will shrink. Not anymore. She asks, in the calmest voice she can muster, "I'd like to speak with your supervisor." The officer's laugh is short and dismissive, an audible scoff. "Supervisor, what's your problem, huh?" Layla knows he's trying to brush her off, to downplay her request, but she doesn't care. She has one last card to play, and she will not flinch. Slowly, deliberately, she reaches into her bag, pulling out her FBI badge. She holds it in front of her with the calmest of gestures, but inside she feels every fiber of her being snap into focus. This is the moment. Her eyes lock with his, and for the first time she watches his confidence falter, his arrogance crack. The officer's expression shifts as he sees the badge. The smirk fades, replaced by the first hint of hesitation. His hand drops from the radio, and for a long moment there is only the sound of the cars passing by in the distance, the tension between them hanging heavy. Is that real? The officer stammers, his voice losing its earlier edge. Layla doesn't respond immediately. She watches him with steady eyes, waiting. She can feel the power in the air, the shift. This isn't just about him anymore. It's about the system. It's about all the times her blackness has been a reason for suspicion, all the times her intelligence, her accomplishments, her very humanity have been questioned. It's about what she's had to endure to get here, to become who she is. And it's about finally reclaiming the space that was always hers. Her voice cuts through the silence, calm but unyielding. I don't owe you an explanation for my existence or my accomplishments. You don't get to question who I am because of the color of my skin. The officer opens his mouth, but no words come out. He's lost. The power dynamics have shifted entirely. He's no longer the one holding the authority. Layla is. She stands taller now, not just as a woman, but as a symbol of every person who has had to fight for respect in a world that won't give it freely. I am not a stereotype, she continues, her voice unwavering. I am not the label you've placed on me. The officer shifts uncomfortably, his eyes darting away from hers, unable to meet the weight of her gaze. He stumbles, the words he had so easily thrown at her now dying on his lips. His body language shifts, no longer imposing but defensive, shrinking in the face of his own failure. He knows. He knows what he did, and he knows the truth of the moment. He misjudged her. The silence stretches between them, thick and heavy, before Layla speaks again, her words cutting through the lingering tension. You've learned nothing from this encounter, she says, her voice low but powerful. But you won't forget it. And she knows. He will never forget this moment, and neither will she. This is not just about him, not just about this one police officer. It's about the countless others who have been dismissed, overlooked, and forced to shrink themselves in the face of ignorance and prejudice. Layla turns, ready to walk away. But as she does, she feels the eyes of the crowd around her, those who had silently watched the exchange. Her words have reached them. The murmurs start, quiet at first but growing in intensity. They have witnessed something powerful, something rare, an act of defiance in the face of injustice, an affirmation of self-worth, a rejection of the system that has long sought to silence people like Layla. The officer, humiliated and speechless, watches her leave, the realization of his own prejudice weighing heavily on him. But Layla doesn't look back. She walks with a new sense of power, a quiet dignity that radiates strength. As the crowd stirs, her words, her truth, begin to ripple through the air, spreading like wildfire. She's ignited something in them. The movement has begun. Layla's small act of resistance is no longer just her victory. It is the victory of everyone who has ever been dismissed, underestimated, and overlooked. The world may try to reduce her to a label, but Layla Patterson knows that her worth is undeniable. And as she walks away, she knows this is only the beginning. The road ahead is long, but it is a road she will walk with courage and conviction, knowing that with every step, she is challenging the system and changing the world for those who come after her. The media erupts as the story of Layla's confrontation with Officer Thompson spreads across news outlets. Clips of the encounter flood social media, with millions of people viewing the moment of defiance that quickly becomes a symbol of strength. Public opinion is swift and decisive. Layla's calm in the face of aggression is celebrated, and her poise in the moment becomes a beacon of hope for those who have long been silenced by racial prejudice. On social media, people rally behind Layla, sharing her story and using hashtags like Justice for Layla and Power in Truth. Activists and community leaders weigh in, calling her a hero for how she handled the situation. Public figures express their support, emphasizing the need for change and urging society to examine its deep-seated biases. The way Layla stood firm in the face of blatant racism becomes a defining moment for the movement. Her act of courage, faced with systemic injustice, gives people permission to stand tall, to speak out, and to fight for their rights. While some media outlets champion Layla's actions, others, sympathetic to the officer, try to downplay the significance of the moment, but the public is no longer listening to those voices. The damage is done. Investigations into Officer Thompson's conduct begin, and the officer is placed on administrative leave while the matter is examined. But the growing outcry from the public makes it clear that this moment and the larger conversation it sparked about racism and accountability can't be ignored. The officer's career, once thought untouchable, begins to unravel as more details about his previous actions are scrutinized. Layla's defiance has not only challenged the officer, but the entire system he represents. Layla sits in the quiet of her apartment, watching the fallout unfold on the news. She hears her name repeated, sees her image flash across the screen, and feels the weight of the moment settle into her chest. The calls for justice, the conversations ignited by her actions, they've become part of a larger movement. She reflects on the profound impact her small act of resistance has had, and she recognizes that her personal victory goes far beyond just this one encounter. It is the culmination of years of struggle of every black person who has faced systemic injustice and fought for equality. Layla's strength has brought this moment to the forefront, but she knows that there is more work to be done. This isn't just her fight anymore, it's the fight of every person who has been denied their dignity, every person who has been told they don't matter, every person who has felt the sting of racial bias. Layla knows she is part of something much larger now. Her act of standing up to the officer, of reclaiming her power, has ignited a spark that will continue to grow. She doesn't know where the road ahead will take her, but she knows that the movement for change is stronger than ever before. And so she continues her work within the FBI, using her position to push for reforms from within. It's not easy, but Layla is determined. She's seen the cracks in the system, and now she's ready to do the work necessary to address them. Every step she takes is measured, deliberate, and fueled by the belief that she can make a difference. As an agent, she challenges the biases that pervade her own institution, ensuring that the very system that once oppressed her can be transformed. Outside of work, Layla's influence grows in her community. Her example has inspired a new generation of leaders who are now taking the fight to the streets, to the courts, and to the halls of power. They see her as a beacon of hope, as a living testament to the power of resilience and authenticity in the face of adversity. The neighborhood that once felt fractured by tension is now united by a shared sense of purpose, with the community rallying around the ideals Layla has championed. The conversations once confined to whispered discussions now take center stage, as voices, once silent or dismissed, demand to be heard. Layla walks through her neighborhood, her heart full as she observes the changes taking place. The streets are now alive with a renewed sense of hope. The young girl who had witnessed the encounter, now standing tall, holding a protest sign, is a symbol of the future Layla has fought for. She is just one of many young voices rising to take up the mantle of change. The movement that Layla has sparked continues to grow, evolving into a force that can no longer be ignored. Layla knows that while this is just the beginning, the momentum is undeniable. The fight for justice is ongoing, and though the battle is far from over, Layla can see the light at the end of the tunnel. The future, for the first time in a long while, feels brighter than ever before. She knows that the fight for equality will continue, but she also knows that with each passing day, the strength of the movement grows, and with it, the hope for a more just world. Layla's legacy is already being written, and it is one of courage, transformation, and the unshakable belief that change is not only possible, it is inevitable.